We did 5 rounds of IVF. For the men who are listening, I'm going to tell you right now, you are nothing but just a sperm donor.
Well, that's not true.
Hey, yo. When it's your turn to do your submission.
Submission? Is that what we're calling it?
Yes, that's what it is. It's like at a cafeteria lunch, like, boom. Next, here's your canister. Go do what you gotta do. You go into this room and like they got like this booklet of old DVDs for you know what.
So you did watch the DVDs?
Yes. Looking at the DVDs like, this is not my type. This is not my type. Like people are hitting the door, like carts are hitting the door while you're trying to do your thing. Okay. I really wanted more of a concierge like approach to it.
What you wanted, me? Glitter on your nose?
This episode is brought to you by Set for Life Insurance. Listen, docs, one of the first steps we took to pay off our student loan debt was realizing we paid way too much for our disability insurance. That all changed when we found Set for Life Insurance. They helped us with a customized insurance policy that met our needs and, most of all, budget. To learn more, check out setforlifeinsurance.com.
Look, we all got different needs, wants, and goals in life. As doctors, locum tenens definitely needs to be a part of that conversation. But you might wonder, how do I find out if locums is good for me? Here's my answer. Go to an unbiased, informative source like locumstory.com. You'll learn all the ins and outs of locums, details on travel and housing, how to find different jobs, tax information, and more. Get a comprehensive view of locums and decide if it's right for you at locumstory.com. Link is in the show notes. What is up, everyone? What's good? It's Dr. Nee here with Docs Outside the Box. I'm joined by
Dr. Renee.
Hey, listen, guys. I want you guys to tune in for this entire episode. This is going to be a good one. On this episode, we're going to talk about how we're getting our Ghana mission or medical mission trip tax deductible. Then we're going to talk about getting health coverage, particularly when you're pregnant. And then the third thing we're going to talk about is the YouTube shorts as well as the Instagram reel that we created on Dr. Mike. And basically, does the public care that doctors are in debt? Those are 3 things we're going to talk about.
We'll find out.
Shall we jump into this?
Let us.
Let's jump into Ghana, yo. So, guys, every year, for the most part, we've been going to Ghana. That's where I'm from. And we've been going to Ghana for 2 reasons. One, to see family, but also at the same time to do some medical mission work, medical humanitarian work. Actually, the proper term is medical humanitarian work because we don't do no, religious type of stuff there.
It's just medical mission, babe.
Is it? Because I thought there's a difference. Like medical mission connotates some type of religious
No, it doesn't.
thing. I believe so. So that's why I always say medical humanitarian because we don't do nothing religious on our trips, But listen.
I'm going to look that up.
Okay, look it up. I'm going to look it up also. But this year we go in again and we're leaving for about 4 weeks. Close to a little bit under 4 weeks, and a significant period of time, we're going to be doing some medical mission work out there. We're bringing our kids, our 2 small kids, and then we're also bringing your parents.
Yep.
We were going to bring my parents, but a little bit of a medical issue, so they're not going to be able to roll with us. But the plan is, we get there, see family for a little bit, and then we fly to Kumasi, which is the 2nd largest city in Ghana. And we're going to be at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, their university hospital. And we're going to be doing, our medical work there. Mm-hmm. We're going to be seeing patients. We're going to be operating. We're going to be doing a bunch of screenings. There's going to be a lot of women health work there. There's going to be a lot of bi-directional learning there, where we learn from the residents. We learn from the attendings. The residents also learn from us. We do lectures. They teach us stuff. It's a really great experience.
Yeah.
I've been trying to recruit some people from here to come with me, and it's been really difficult to get them to come.
Really? Why?
Yeah. I don't know why. I just think a lot of them have good intentions, but I think I'll be very honest, I think when it gets to actually planning it, I think it's an inconvenience, right? It requires a lot of planning. And I think a lot of them are kind of shook. I'll be really honest. I think a lot of them are kind of shook. Because it's not a significant sacrifice, but it's a different way of thinking. And it's something that I think a lot of people are scared to do.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people that you're recruiting also have to kind of get clearance from their jobs to be able to take that amount of time off. It's 2 weeks. So the question is, do they have that specific 2 weeks off too?
No, I've been giving people a year off. I've been giving people a year
notice.
A year notice, like, yo, this is what we're going to be doing and stuff. And I think that to some people, it's something that is on their mind. And to other people, it's not really on their mind. Or they just kind of psych themselves out. I can't do that. And, because you'll see they'll make time for other things. And this isn't, I'll be really honest with you. I'm not shading other people, but I do think that there's like...
Well, it ain't for everybody.
It's not for everybody, and it's not. This is not for everybody. Like, you have to have a specific mindset in mind, and you have to plan this out in a year that I'm going to not make money for 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. I'm going to ask for some time off, and I'm going to go to something that, or I'm going to go and do something that, in many regards is not a vacation.
Yeah, and I've never done before.
And I think that scares people.
And the proper term, if you're talking about religious stuff, is missionary.
Okay.
Not mission.
So if you go and you do some work, like medical work in another country, and it's charitable, it's still medical mission work?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not missionary.
I know it's not missionary.
Yeah.
But it's mission work, or?
It's mission.
So then what is medical humanitarian work then?
The same thing.
Okay. I just always assumed that mission...
No. Missionary usually connotates... Anyway, if somebody knows, let us know. But I've never heard of medical mission work necessarily being religious. Missionary work, yes. I've heard of that being more religious.
Right. Well, I'll just leave it to you like this. Every time I tell people about that we're going, they always ask, which religious group are you going with? And I say, we're not going with no religious group.
Well, that's because a lot of religious groups do go overseas.
I know, but I'm just telling y'all, we ain't going with no religious group. It's just us.
I know that. I'm just telling you that people...
No. It's just us. It's an organization. We go in there, we going to do what I think.
Anyway.
But that's not what this segment is about. So, as we're planning and getting ready to go, found out after discussion with our CPA that actually our portion of the trip literally can be 100% tax deductible. Woohoo! Which is a big deal. So for y'all who are listening, who are employed at your hospital or employed by your private practice, or maybe a partner and you may be a W-2 worker, this may not apply to you. But if you have a small business, if that small business involves you doing medical work, this is something that you may want to listen to.
Yeah. So you do locums.
Right. If you do locums, if you do consulting, that's medically related.
Right.
You may be able to utilize this. So, like I said, before we get into this, always make sure that you discuss this with your tax professional, with your tax coach, because don't come for us in these streets. If you get audited, don't come to us. All right.
I'm already clapping.
But I think one thing that we are learning to live by, and this is something that they don't tell you when you're growing up, is it's not really about how much money you make, it's how much you keep.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I think we learned the hard way right after we finished our fellowship, and we kind of started looking at how much money we had in debt and how little amount we had in savings. I had zero in savings. As a matter of fact, I had negative because I had a bunch of credit card debt. And we could save that for another episode. But I think what I realized was that, as you start working year 1, year 2, year 3, and you start to think about what your salary is, it sounds great, but that's not what you keep at the end of the year.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? Taxes go here, things go here. You pay this professional to do this. You do all these different things, and you end up keeping a smaller amount than what your actual salary is. Now, I think to the general public, they're just like, oh, boo-hoo, whatever. Like, you're still doing better than all of us.
Right.
It doesn't matter. But I think for someone like us, or people like us who come from certain neighborhoods, who aspire to go to a different, tier, right? Like, you kind of...
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Right. You're just like, wait, I'm doing all of this work. I sacrifice all of these different things. And to some people, like, they still literally could be living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So for us, like, we are always looking for ways that we can be really efficient with how we spend our money, how we can make sure that if we can shift some of our expenses to business expenses legitimately, we're going to want to do that, right? Because if we shift some of our expenses to business related stuff, that overall decreases the amount of money that the IRS can tax us on, right?
So what are some of the things that we are getting paid for what are some of the things that our business is paying for to decrease our tax burden?
Right. So first, one of the biggest things is we are on salary, right? So that counts as a tax deduction for our business, right? So rather than, we get this large payment from the hospital, they pay our company, and then on a monthly basis, we kind of transfer the money over, right? Like that is a very tax inefficient way to kind of pay yourself, right? When you do a salary, then you have to do like unemployment, then you have to do like Social Security, then you have to like create a certain amount that'll go towards maybe a 401k,
payroll taxes,
all of these different things become a situation that makes it a little bit easier. Or like actually just makes it easier for you to, to deduct stuff, right?
So I'm going to say this again because we talked about this on the show before on a previous episode. So basically our company, right? Our company, we are employed by our company and our company pays us a paycheck just the same way that your hospital, your private practice might pay you a paycheck.
Right. So that's one thing that we use, right? Another thing that we do is eventually we'll probably have our kids on payroll, right?
Yes.
Another thing that we do also is, even to this day, like there's a certain portion of office space that our company rents, right? And what happens is that our company writes us a check, right? And let's say the rent is $200 a month, right? It's based off of the dimensions of the house. It's based off of how small or how big we have dedicated for office space, right? And on a monthly basis, we write a check from our business to us, right? Personally, right? And
so we are the landlords of our business's office space.
Correct. And that is another tax deduction, right? Literally, the business is renting space from us personally.
Right.
So what we are doing now is, after talking with the CPA, we're going to actually use our portion of the trip, not our kids, not parents. Our portion of the trip expenses is going to go and become tax deductible. We're going to use business expenses to pay for that. Now, if you're W-2, what you would do is, the flight, some of the monies that you use while you're in Ghana, that would be technically considered charity, right? The organization that we're going with is a nonprofit organization. But what we're going to do, and I'm going to read you what our CPA says, is basically EAH, or our company, is sponsoring a trip for its 2 doctors to serve those that are less fortunate, right? We're literally giving up the opportunity to gain revenue from our services by donating our services, right? The company is paying the cost with no expectation of income, right? So we are seeing people, we don't expect any income from this whatsoever. And I can tell you right now, like already late July and into August, there's already jobs that I've turned down. There's jobs you've been asked multiple times, can you work
to take
here?
Call.
Right. So that is actually one of the biggest things, is that, do you have a business reason to be going to Ghana, to be traveling internationally, to do business? And for us, that's yes, right? So the way in which I'm going to explain this is like, are we meeting certain stress tests, right? Are there certain tests in which we're doing, right? So once again, trip, flight for me, you, and then there's flight for the kids and flight for your parents. None of them are tax deductible. It's just me and you, since we're both in business together, right? So that's something that you have to, that we have to consider. Now, one of the things that I want also people to look at is, I'm not making this up. If you go to the IRS publication 463, you can check all of this stuff out. So I'm not making this stuff up. Alfred, please put that link below. It's also in the show notes. Once again, it's IRS publication 463. So the question now is how do you make it tax deductible? Is it just the fact that you have business to do there? Not quite. So here are the steps that you have to take for this to be tax deductible. All right. Number 1, you must leave your tax home, right?
What does that mean?
So our tax home has an address in New Jersey, right? It's specifically in a specific city in New Jersey, right? And leaving your tax home is obviously leaving where you do your normal business, which is where we do our normal business, right? And leaving longer than a normal day counts as leave, right? So that's check number 1, right? We're going to be in Ghana doing business. that is away from our tax home, right? So that's step number one.
Yep.
Step number two, your trip must consist mostly of business. Okay. So time away, right, is measured in days.
Right. So you can't be like, I'm going to Vegas and I'm just going to gamble. And then, I'm staying there 7 days. And one of those days is where I'm going to work.
I'm going to get to that point. But the trip has to be mostly a business, like you said, right? So the majority of the trip has to be spent doing business, right, in the United States. But if you travel outside of the United States, the rules are a little bit different.
Okay.
Right? So once again, in the United States, the entire trip, most of the trip has to be connected to business, right? But when you travel outside of the United States, only 25% of the trip has to be related to business, right? So if you do the math with us, we're at 62%.
Okay.
So that's another test that we pass, right?
Right.
So 62% of the time in Ghana, we'll be doing business related to medical mission work.
Medical humanitarian work.
There you go. Medical tax deductible work, right? And then step three, the trip needs to be an ordinary and necessary expense. And this is in quotes, ordinary and necessary expense.
Okay.
So ordinary and necessary is a term used by the IRS to designate expenses that are ordinary for a business, given the industry that it's in.
Okay.
Right?
I gotcha.
And has to be necessary within the same vein also, right?
Right. So it wouldn't be something like like our company would be paying for, I don't know, marketing and advertising for Docs Outside the Box,
right.
for example.
So basically, it's like flying coach versus flying first class.
Okay.
Right? Ordinary is, do you really need to fly first class?
Right.
Like you can fly coach.
I do. No.
Right? Well, the IRS says, yeah, you can go ahead and fly it, but
we ain't paying for that.
Right? So we're doing coach, right?
Right.
Or if you're going to rent a car, like renting a Lamborghini versus renting,
I need a Lamborghini to go to do my medical mission work.
Okay, you can try that. I don't think it's going to fly. Once again, you can try that. But that's what they're talking about, right?
I'll be like Wyclef in Haiti on top of a big old expensive SUV.
You never know. He might have tried to get that tax write-off on that, but
sure
you don't know.
He did. He probably did a video.
But that is the key, is keep everything regular, nothing fancy. What is necessary for you to get to Ghana? What is necessary for you to get through to Ghana? And then step number 4. This is very important. Are you editing this file while 371 while I'm looking at it?
I'm putting in some other things.
Okay, can you stop? Because what it does is it like erases what I have here.
Oh, sorry.
So back to step number 4, the most important step. Please stop that. Right? Is you need to be able to document the planning of the trip before you actually go there, right? Like you can't just say, I'm going to Ghana and I'm just going to figure it out, right? You know how we always joked around, I'm just going to go to like Orlando and just like start passing around cards and do like a fake visit to a hospital. Like, nah, that doesn't fly. Like you actually have to show proof that this was planned,
that you're
right?
going to,
Like you have to create like an agenda, have an agenda. And I recommend that you either have emails that show proof of you planning this prior to you getting there, or like a Google Docs, right? So for us, like in order for us to take a team of 30 people and divide it by 3, like you can't just make that up.
Yeah, plus we're going with an actual organization who is actually setting the itinerary. Right. So...
Well, we're part of planning the itinerary, right?
Yes, we are part of it.
We're team leaders and stuff.
Yes, we are part of it. But I mean, if you are doing locums or you have a private practice or whatever, and you're going with an organization, then you could probably use that organization's itinerary on your behalf to be able to get it tax deductible.
So it's very important that you document these emails. It's very important that you use Google Docs to put all of this stuff together and or create like even a little bit of an itinerary for you. So for us, every day we're going to be rounding on patients. Every day we're going to be seeing patients who we're going to operate. Every day we're going to be doing, or, we're going to be doing lectures.
Yeah.
Right? This is already planned out.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to be able, the underlying theme is that you have to be able to prove that there's a professional intent for your trip. Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're at. So in terms of travel expenses that are tax deductible, vaccinations, right? That is, and I kept a note and I said, hey, yo, I did not know vaccinations were so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Vaccinations are really expensive. So we don't need to get yellow fever because we've gotten yellow fever before, but we got typhoid. And I can't remember what the other.
Hep A.
And I got Hep A, and that for me was like, what, 500?
Yeah.
And then I forgot what it was too, but it was just mad expensive. But that is part of the cost of doing business in Ghana.
You almost got caught out there paying with our personal account.
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse me, sir. You better pull out that business card.
But plane, train, business tickets, bus tickets, not business tickets, but bus tickets, all of those things, you can pretty much deduct 100% of the cost of travel to your destination.
Hotel.
Right? Baggage fees, laundry and dry cleaning, rental car costs, hotel and Airbnb costs, and then 50% of eligible business meals, right? Like these are things that you guys should all be considering if you have your own business that can help you reach those, that stress test of, is there a professional intent on this trip? And if there is, then these 4 things should be met. All right. And that's what we're going to do. So the most important thing also just to understand is the kids don't count, right? Unless they were employees of the business and we were going to use them, right? Like some people have their kids as employees and maybe they need them for, photography and what have you. But at this point, we're not there. So
yeah, by next year we will be.
But that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
So once again, we're going to Ghana. The trip is tax deductible for just me and Renee. The 4 steps are: 1, you must leave your tax home, right? We're going to be on a different continent. I think that qualifies.
Right.
Step 2 is the trip has to be mostly consistent with business, or consists mostly of business, excuse me. But the fact that we're going to be international, it only has to be 25%. We're at 62% according to our math. And then the trip needs to be an ordinary and necessary expense. We're traveling coach, maybe renting a regular car. We're getting a hotel room that is just regular. And then also we are planning the trip in advance. We got the emails to document. We got an itinerary already set up. And we're just kind of letting everybody know that, hey, the point of us to go there was for business.
Yep.
How many people do you think are going to take advantage of what we just described?
Well, I think mostly people who work as, 1099s or have their own, have an actual private practice. I think if they didn't know this information and they really wanted to do something, that now they might see this as less of a financial burden for them. Right.
Yeah.
Because if it's not a business deduction, then it is a little bit of a burden because then you're literally not making money. But if you're like, wait a minute, I could decrease the amount that I report to the IRS that I make so that potentially I pay less tax, then
Real quick, before we take a break, I'm just going to say it like this. I think that if you have to be convinced to take a medical mission work, you're never going to do it. Right. I think that if you hear that, hey, we're doing a medical mission and we're going to do A, B, C, and D, and if you're not sold upon that point, you'll never do it. That's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
But
yes, it's not for everybody.
It ain't for everybody.
It's not for everybody. And we talked about this on the show before. It ain't for everybody. Some people who are sold on it immediately also need to understand that you're going to, a country maybe that you've never been to before. Respect the culture. Respect what's going on over there. Don't ask silly questions like, do they have monkeys for pets?
All right. And then we got to take a break, though, Renee. All right, y'all.
On that note,
we're going to take a break, and we will be right back with our next topic.
What's changed in healthcare? The opportunities, the lifestyle, and you.
Now's the perfect time to explore locum tenens and see how it might fit into your career story. Trust me, this is not a one-size-fits-all solution for everyone, and the variety of opportunities might surprise you. I recommend starting your research at locumstory.com, an unbiased, educational resource about locum tenens. You're going to find stories of locum physicians from all walks of life, so you get a bigger picture of the diverse options. The Locum Story website also has a tool that lets you explore locums pay and demand for your specialty, and even compare to different locum tenens agencies. There's even a simple quiz to see if locums is a right fit for you. Locums could be an essential part of your career that adapts to your needs. Do your own research at locumstory.com. It's easy. Link is in the show notes.
All right, we are back. Let's finish that point. What'd you say about people asking about monkeys and pets?
Remember you said the last trip you went to, somebody was like, do they have monkeys for pets? It's like, a monkey is not a domesticated animal. Like, why would they have monkeys for pets here? For what? Do you have a mongoose as a pet? Might as well ask that.
Just keep my blood pressure low. Hey, guys. So the second segment that we want to talk about is, let's talk about health insurance and pregnancy. So I'm not sure if this is a doctor. I think it's a doctor.
Yeah, Dr.
Dr. Huda. I don't know. You know her?
No, I don't know her.
Okay.
She just texted us.
So Dr. Huda wrote and she says, hello, I just listened to your last episode and I was hoping if you can bring someone to talk about getting your own health insurance. You mentioned you left while Renee was pregnant. Well, I always wanted to quit, but the health insurance thing kept me paralyzed as we have needs and I'm currently pregnant. I swear I would go for locum in a heartbeat if I know I can get similar coverage for the same price I pay now through my employer. Mm-hmm. My name is Huda. Bonus point, if there's a way to know if there will be IVF coverage. Afraid if I ask, they will automatically increase the premium. Thank you for a quick reply. So, yes, we are currently looking for an expert who can help, who can give us some advice on the best way to buy health insurance. But this comes back to, I can't remember which episode. Oh, this is from episode 368 with Dr. Barnes, right?
Oh, right.
So I did a quick intro where I talked about doing locums and switching and doing 100% locums, which is working for myself, being an independent contractor. I sell my services to a hospital, right? But when you do that, you don't have any benefits.
Right.
So one of the things that you have to buy on your own
you don't.
One of the things that you have to buy on your own is health insurance, right? And for us, I just decided while you were pregnant, I was just going to go to healthcare.gov. And I bought and found health coverage that was very similar to what we had before.
Right.
It was a little bit more expensive, but I purchased it and we had coverage. You got to keep your same doctor, which was your partner.
Yep.
She delivered you. Everything was fine. All of the care, there was no hiccups.
There was really no change. Like, we didn't really notice a change in terms of how we navigated the healthcare system.
Yeah. And everything was pretty straightforward and it was easy, I thought. And so that's a situation where it was like, we're leaving. There's no going back. And even though she was pregnant, I just found something that would get us coverage. And all of the coverage that we were looking for in the state of Pennsylvania, when I was looking at all of the different companies, and most of them were like the Blue Crosses, the UPMCs, the Geisingers, I forget who else were there.
United Health.
Every time I was looking, I always was looking to make sure that your partner was covered.
Right.
Which they were for the most part. And if something wasn't covered, I was like, okay, we can't use that.
Right.
And since then, we went, and that coverage was almost like, I wouldn't say it's a Cadillac plan, but it was pretty good. It was really a good plan. And then since then, after we had our second, we decided to downgrade to something that we call a high deductible health plan, which means we don't anticipate having to see the doctor much. So as a result, our premiums are lower, but if we have to pay, we pay a little bit more than what the average person would pay. And the reason we like that is we're relatively healthy. We figured we'd save on the lower premiums. use the rest of the money for other things, like maybe getting a real estate property or investing that money maybe in the stock market or just plain old just saving it for something else. And that's what we decided to do. And we've been doing that for what? Now it's 6 years.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is that sometimes people get really concerned that they're going to have to pay for their health insurance. And I think one of the things that Dr. Huda mentioned was that, it could be more expensive than what she's paying now. But if she is a W-2, right, then, yeah, I mean, she gets that pre-tax dollars or whatever, but it's still tax deductible even if you do locums. Right. And so that's what people forget. It's like, it's not just going to be like out of pocket and you just paying on your own and there's no benefit. You're still going to be able to get that tax deductible because that's a cost of actually doing business, is providing yourself with health insurance.
I'm interested in, because she also asked about IVF coverage, because I'm trying to figure this out because she's currently pregnant.
So she probably went through IVF.
Right.
Right. And is probably thinking about, I don't know if this is her first, second, third baby, but if it's not the last child that she plans on having, maybe she's thinking, I will maybe need IVF in the future.
Yeah.
Right?
So IVF is a grip. We did how many rounds? 5 rounds of IVF. They all failed. And it was mad expensive. Like each round was like $20,000 each.
Yeah. And that was when we were W-2 mostly.
Yeah.
That's when we were W-2. So all of those expenses actually were not tax deductible, all the things that we paid out of pocket.
The ultrasounds were expensive.
Yeah.
The medications were expensive. So I think a lot of things that people don't think about, and this Forbes article, I'm going to put a link in the show notes. This Forbes article really delineates it, is like, they will tell you how much it costs for IVF, but it doesn't include, well, you're going to have to pay for multiple ultrasounds. You're going to have to pay for the medication separately than what the actual cost of IVF is. Right. And there's all of these other costs. And I'm not saying it's like nefarious reasons that they're not telling you this. It's just that y'all need to know when they say like it's like $15,000, you should be like, what are the other costs associated with it? How much is the ultrasound's going to be?
Yeah.
How much is those medications going to be? Those medications can be like $5,000.
Yeah.
Even
they can be
more
very
than that.
expensive. Yeah, they can be very expensive, depending on, how far you go. Are you going to be just doing IUIs, right? Intrauterine inseminations? Are you going to actually be doing IVF? Are you going to be doing ICSI, which is when they inject the sperm into the actual egg?
Yeah.
Like all of that. Are you going to be doing, PGD, basically kind of your analysis, like your chromosomal genetics analysis, right? Are you going, like all these little add-ons? Are you going to be doing acupuncture, at the point at which you have certain procedures? Like all these things that just kind of add up. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to tell you something right now. For the men who are listening, going through this, I'm going to tell you right now.
What you telling them?
Yo, you are nothing but just a sperm donor. And support. That is it.
Well, that's not true.
Hey, yo.
That's not true.
Listen, as somebody who went through it, you are nothing but a sperm donor.
No.
And the way how they make you feel, literally.
No.
First of all, hold on. Let me finish my story. First of all, when it's your turn to do your submission, it's just like you walk in.
Submission? Is that what we're calling it?
Yes, that's what it is, because that's how they treat it. Don't mix.
Please, whatever. You got a nice little couch. You go in.
What are you talking about? You weren't even there. Can I tell my story?
You go in.
Can I tell my story?
Some videos, some girly magazines.
Can I tell my story?
Tell your story. Tell the whole story.
You go into this lab. It's like literally like Grand Central at this lab, and they're just like, it's like at a cafeteria lunch, like, boom, next, here's your canister, go do what you got to do. And the room, like, you think that you got to go, like, let me go left, let me go right, let me zigzag and, into this other part. No, like, the room is right across from the person who just plopped something over to you. Here's your specimen. You go into this room, you can hear all the noise of everything that's going on and stuff, right? It's not even
heard?
The rooms are not even soundproofed.
What did you hear?
Then hold on. Let me tell my story.
I want to know what you heard.
You talking about something that you wasn't even involved with. Just chill.
I want to know what you heard.
Then you go into the room and they got this booklet of old DVDs for you know what, and I'm looking at the DVDs and I'm like.
So you did watch the DVDs?
Yes. Looking at the DVDs this is not my type. This is not my type. I wanted literally to knock on and be like, hey guys, you got some... And I was like, nah, forget it. And they do have girly magazines, but I'm like, this is not my type. So anyway.
Who would you want? Ebony Magazine Centerfold?
Wouldn't hurt. But...
You want to look at the Janelle Monáe tour going on right now?
Wouldn't hurt. Right? But... and then while you're doing, people are hitting the door, carts are hitting the door while you're trying to do your thing. Are you done? I use the bathroom. Damn.
Me, nobody asked you to let them into use the bathroom. Stop playing.
Goodness. That was the most, it was so it was suck. That experience sucked. Came out, did my business, and they're looking at it okay, this is good. And then you leave. You're just I didn't like that experience at all.
You didn't like
For how much I'm spending, I didn't like that experience at all.
Okay.
I really wanted more of a concierge approach to it.
What you wanted, me? Glitter on your nose?
No
sex in the champagne room.
No, but I wanted some more. I would prefer more privacy.
Okay, I get that.
I think you could give somebody more privacy.
You know what? I'm literally not having sympathy for you because my experience was basically being probed, every couple of days, getting stuck every couple of days. I think you got the good end of the bargain.
No, I think we both got the shitty end of the bargain.
No, I think you...
How was my experience? So because you had a shitty experience, I got to have a shitty experience?
No. What? I'm saying that your experience was better than mine. Mine was actually painful. I had to inject myself. I was injecting myself on the highway knee. I think you got the better end of the bargain. Okay?
So, Huda, listen...
After all of that, back to Dr. Huda.
If you go to, I got another link with this organization called Resolve. And Resolve is the National Infertility Association, and it offers, and you can really easily see insurance coverage by state. Mm-hmm. So that will be in the show notes, and this is where you can determine which states have mandated that, IVF coverage has to be covered. There's some states that maybe IVF doesn't have to be covered, but infertility treatments have to be covered, which is a little bit different than IVF. And then there's some states that just have no coverage whatsoever. Obviously, if you're interested in that, you may have to still steer clear from those states that are not covered. But that's a good starting point. And that is up to date as of June of 2023. Correct. I know you sent me something from Kaiser, but Kaiser was updated as of 2020.
Okay.
A lot has changed from 2020 to 2023, particularly June of 2023 and stuff. So that's something that you can check out, Dr. Huda, is the Forbes article, as well as that Resolve link that I gave you that you can find out. But yes, we're definitely looking right now for someone who can kind of help you find or give advice on how to find, healthcare and health insurance. Because it's sometimes, it's what you are getting as an employee is not available in the marketplace.
Right.
And some of the definitions might be different also. It may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing, but it's just something that I think we should have someone come on and kind of talk about. So
yeah, and the last thing that I wanted to say about this was Dr. Huda mentioned her concern about asking about IVF and her premiums going up. But that's not the way that works, right? So if you ask about a service, a medical, is this particular service covered, your premiums will not go up because of that. Right? I think she's probably thinking more about disability insurance, right? Because if you ask a question, people are going to be like, so you got X, Y, and Z? It's nah, man, chill. I'm just asking. But that doesn't happen with health insurance.
Just kind of reminds me of just when I was a kid. You go into the hospital, you never give them your real name. You never give them your social security number because you don't know where that bill's coming from. You don't know if you have health insurance.
Get out of here, Lee.
I don't know. All right, y'all. Listen, we got to take another break. Let's come back.
Wait. Oh. So just to say that if anybody else wants to text us, go to 833, text us at 833-230-2860. We'll answer your question the way we did Dr. Huda's.
All right, we're taking a break. We'll be right back.
Hold up. Before we continue, to all my day ones, and you know each and every one of you who you are, thank you for rolling with the show from jump. And to the new listeners, welcome. What's good? Where y'all been? I want y'all to stay a while. All right. So look, I'm trying to build a community here and I need your help. So with whatever app you're listening to this show right now, I want you to click the subscribe button. Then I want you to go over to Apple Podcasts and I want you to rate and review the show. And you may be asking, how does this help? The way how it helps is by helping the show to grow and rise up in the rankings so that it's easier for new people to discover the show. Now, what's in it for you is at least once a week, I'm going to be going through these reviews. I'm going to pick a lucky reviewer and I'm going to give that person an opportunity to have a 15-minute session with me where we could talk about anything from personal finance, getting your money right, to just shooting the you know what about the show. So listen, remember, all I need you to do is subscribe and then rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. Let's get on with the episode. Peace.
All right, we are back. This is our last segment. Let's talk about this video that we did. We did a reaction video on Dr. Mike. So Dr. Mike, several weeks ago, had like a panel or like, what do you call that? Stitches of different doctors in different specialties talking about the amount of student loan debt that they did. As you already know, Dr. Mike, very famous physician on YouTube, and had about 4 or 5 people, like 5 or 6 people on there. We did our reaction video to his video, and we just said, yo, we got y'all all beat. We got everything that y'all did times 2, right? So we had like $662,000 of student loan debt. Alfred, if you could put the video up so people can see, or just a little bit so people can know what we're talking about. The comments, though, kind of lean towards what you were saying, right? Because, you know, I remember even before we did this video, we were talking about, you know, should the public care should the public care, right?
Help him, Alfred.
Use your vowels.
Should the audience, damn, you messing me up. Should the public care that student loans is such a big deal for doctors?
Yes, and
right?
you said, I think if
my
society
answer was,
knew, right. You said, I think if the public knew, they would care about that.
No. I said if the public knew how high student loan debt was for doctors and the decisions that they're making afterwards and how it affects them, I think they would care. You said that you don't think they would care, and I'm like, okay, right? Well, you know, drum roll, please. I think, lo and behold, people just don't give a shit about what doctors got to say. So let me get my phone. You keep talking. I'm gonna get my phone so I can see some of the messages. So if you go to YouTube, let me see if I can find it out. If we go to YouTube, let's see.
What's up, YouTube? Yeah, YouTube did not give.
And this wasn't a lot of people, but there was a couple. But there was some people who said some things that I was just I find it very striking, right? Like,
yeah, YouTube gave no love to that, and I won that battle, by the way.
Oh, real quick though, before I talk about that, Dr. Love wrote to us and said, I'm super behind on episodes, but Renee is right about physician student loans. Folks don't care. Congress and Supreme Court shot down just $30,000 of loan forgiveness for everyone. They're not going to care about doctors.
Yep.
First of all, Dr. Love, you ain't got to flex and say, oh, I'm super behind and stuff. Like, yo, you listening or you not listening? I don't know why you got, I'm super behind and stuff. Like, you ain't got time to listen to us? But anyway, he's right, though, too. So I agree with you. Dr. Love, thank you for listening. Also, Dr. Love, congratulations on inaction. You know me, I don't like, I think you should either take action and say no to something or say yes to something. We've been kind of talking, and he didn't take action, not because he didn't know what to do, but didn't take action, and it turned out to be a really great decision.
So he basically said no to something.
Kind of, sort of, I guess, if you want to look at it that way.
Okay, because that's like not actually what you're describing, but okay.
What am I describing?
I don't know. You're describing like
how come I can't get to the comments?
you're saying that he took inaction and it worked out to his advantage, but it wasn't because he didn't know what to do. So I'm like, well, did he know what to do and say no?
So this is what someone said. These people
well, that conversation just went to hell.
You know me, guys. I change subjects without having to admit that I'm wrong.
Exactly.
These people are not the ones struggling with student loan debt. They make more than enough. Somebody wrote, so what? But their loan payments are still like 30% of their take-home pay. So I wrote, define struggle. Docs base where they're going to practice and what they're going to practice on how much they make. They're less likely to take a job in rural and suburban areas. This leads to a bigger problem with physician shortages also. Right. Another comment is, okay, so when are you going to tell us how much money you make a year? Sorry, doctors, you get no sympathy from me.
Because, all doctors are millionaires. All of them. Most of them are millionaires.
But I think so. I was watching on Twitter either Twitter or Instagram. Somebody said yes, like if you graduate from college or if you graduate from grad school and you have over $250,000 of debt, that is your responsibility to pay. Right? That is your responsibility. Like,
absolutely,
after all is said and done, like, ultimately your name is on a promissory note.
Yeah,
that responsibility is yours, right? Mm-hmm. But just because you tell someone that the responsibility is theirs doesn't absolve the entire industry of wrongdoing, right? So basically what it's saying is that why is it $250,000? Mm-hmm. That doesn't make sense, right? Like, you still need doctors. You still need people to come into primary care. You still need people to go into rural medicine. Like, it is not a problem because it doesn't affect you yet. But when it does, when you have to be shipped 2 hours away because your rural community doesn't have a primary care doctor or even a subspecialist, right? Because everybody is in urban areas, it's going to affect you. Or if your child has appendicitis and there's no pediatric surgeon who can do your procedure and you have to ship your kid 2.5 hours just to do an appendectomy, you're going to be crying. You're going to be pissed off, right? If they got to fly in by a helicopter, right? And that's on you. So I just think that it's sometimes it's really interesting. I get that doctors make more than the average person.
Right.
And I get that every doctor who takes on this loan debt is responsible for that. I get that. But there's still a problem with the fact that medical school is that much money, right? Particularly in the situation where you look at the demographics of those who are in medical school. The majority of people who are in medical school are people who come from well-to-do backgrounds, right? So I can kind of see why people are saying like, hey, like you're not going to get any sympathy from me.
Right.
But in order to diversify medicine, right, whether that's because you want more women in there or you want people who are underrepresented, like you're going to have to look at people who come from certain backgrounds who, yes, they are scared away by that six-figure, that six-figure debt.
So, yeah, I mean, look. Like you said, until something affects someone, they typically don't really care about it, right? And I would dare to argue that I think there becomes a point in certain communities where subpar is the status quo and then people are actually okay with it. They don't actually see anything wrong with it. They think that that's what it's supposed to be. Right. So we've worked in rural communities for quite some time. And I will tell you, I've had patients who did not want to be transferred. Like when you offered them like, yo, you got cancer. I don't do cancer. You need cancer surgery. You've got to go 2 hours away to go and get your cancer surgery. They're like, nope, no thanks. I'll stay with my cancer. All right, thanks.
Yeah, because being transferred is a big deal, right?
Yes.
Being away from home.
Yes.
You don't have a family support system.
Yes.
It's a big deal. So they'd rather take their chances of being home.
Right. So, the question becomes like, yeah, even if it does impact them in a negative way, will they see it as negative? Right? Will they see it as negative? Like basically over time, right? So if your community is not used to having subspecialists and things like that, then you we don't have that here.
Yeah, this is their normal.
Right. This is their normal. And we've seen that even in our medical missions, we've seen that. Well, it's like, she went to go have a baby and she didn't make it. So this is what happens. And you're like, no, I know like at least 5 ways that she probably could not have died. But, you don't have those resources here. So this is normal to you. This is not normal to me. So, I don't know exactly when the public is actually going to care, even if it impacts them. Maybe individuals might care, but I don't know. I think there's a community, like a community think, that might not allow for people to actually care that doctors are making those decisions based on, the decisions of where they work based on economics.
So I was reading, because, I like to kind of look at studies, and then I found a couple of studies that were able to pinpoint the exact inflection point when student loans went crazy. So apparently in the late 70s, I think in 1970, I forget what year it was, but there was a Congress law that was put out. It was like the middle class, something college. Either way, what it did is it allowed people from the middle class to get student loans, right? And once that occurred, right?
Because loans are guaranteed.
Because what happened is, at that point, prior to that, college was for the uber wealthy, or if you were really poor, then you can get some financial aid, right? But now
if you were in the military,
now that it had opened up to the middle class, all of the loans, like you said, were guaranteed. The tuition basically was guaranteed, now, whether it was low or high.
Yeah.
So colleges and institutions were just like, we're just going to raise our prices.
We got the golden ticket.
Even though, particularly in medicine, like the body hasn't mutated, right? So I don't understand why the cost of education is going higher and higher, right? Like they're still teaching the same thing. There's not any new techniques that they're teaching. They're making you memorize.
New technology. They'll just say,
what new technology? Outside of memorizing,
mean like simulation and just the stuff like they making you memorize. I know that, but I'm saying that the cost of upgrading all of their facilities, right? Like that costs something, right?
So that's what it all boils down to. Whenever you do an investigation of why college costs go high, is the money is not going into the actual education. The money is going into facilities.
Right.
We want a really nice cafeteria so that we can compete against other, Ivy League schools. We want athletic amenities
facilities,
that help us stand out from other colleges and universities and so forth. That's where the money goes to. So, I mean, that sucks that, the significant reason of you going to medical school and you taking on this debt and burden is mainly not to really pay for your ability to memorize and your ability to understand medical training.
Right.
Is literally for some arbitrary reason to pay for the school to even let you in. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Right? That's the part that really upsets me.
I mean, that's what it's for, right? I mean, but if you think about it, that is what colleges sell to
the experience.
Right. That's what they sell to get people in. I was talking to a medical student just yesterday, and she was just, she was a little upset about how things are going at her school because she's not having that great of an experience. And she said to me, this is not what they sold me. This is not what they sold me. Right. So, they attracted her eye to all of the things that, all the good things about the university. I'm sure all the technology, all of the, all the things that are like, wow, I'm going to use all of this. And if I use all of this technology, that's going to make me a better doctor. It's like, nah, actually, if you just study and understand medicine, that'll probably make you a better doctor than any of these simulation labs that you have out there. Right. I mean, the simulation helps. Don't get me wrong. But that's just, what did Dr. Vigneri used to say? That's just gravy. Yeah. Right? It's just the gravy on top.
It looks good in the brochure.
Yeah,
but then
it
when
looks
you actually,
great in the brochure.
You got to make time for it.
It makes for a great selfie. It makes for a great reel.
No.
But at the end of the day, like all this technology that, that came before us, that came after us, does not change the fact that the body works the same way.
Yeah.
Nothing
I think
changed.
the way how I'm going to leave it to folks is like, depending on what your background is, for me, I'm very sensitive to, living in one, just to being in a station in life and aspiring to be in another station of life, right? And, you know, knowing that I wanted to help people in a certain way, I never went into medicine thinking that I was going to be rich.
Right.
I wanted to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. But I also, like, the things for me that I really wanted was I wanted to take care of people. I wanted to cure the world. I wanted to treat the world. And I think that one thing that you're not prepared for is the way in which medicine, like, almost like dehumanizes you, right? As a physician, like you feel like you think that you're at the center, but you're really not.
Right.
But you still have enough power that you can affect change.
Yeah.
And when you look back at, okay, Darko, why do you talk about like tax deduction? Why do you talk about savings? Why do you talk about, you know, investing? I think that right now in the current society that we live in and the way how things are with medicine, like the big flex is being able to kind of push back on that. Mm-hmm. And in order to push back, sometimes you may lose your job. You may lose out on some income. You know, you may not get an opportunity financially to do something. And what's going to hold you down is what's in your savings.
Yeah.
How much do you have invested? Whether it's in your brokerage account or your retirement account, right? Do you have some other type of income that can hold you over while you really stand ground and say either yes to something or no to something or try to go for that opportunity?
Yep.
That is the ultimate core of what we talk about on this show is how do you have options as a healthcare professional when you're in a situation where I think a lot of people feel like they don't have options, right? Like they feel like there's no off ramp to this.
Right.
I'm in this. I've been sold a book of goods and I can't get off of this.
Right. And this is the only way that I know to do this because this is the only way that I was shown how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's why we do this show, yo. We love this. This is a very non-traditional lifestyle that we have, but it allows us to kind of just say, you know what? We're going to take the off ramp. We're going to get off of this and we're going to try something different. Or we'll come back on or we'll continue this.
Right.
It's really up to us.
Exactly.
But we also know that there's a significant amount of sacrifice that we have to take. That either is we are taking significant less or maybe a little bit less than what the average doctor would make. But
no, we not. We calculated the other day.
That's true. We're doing okay, right? We're doing okay.
We're doing pretty good.
But also at the same time, like for me, control of my schedule, control of when I'm working, control of, you know, what holidays I work. That's all up to me.
That's
and
key.
For me, that's really important. So control and mobility, the ability to leave and come and go as I please, is just something for me has always been an issue.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I didn't get married until what, 10 years of dating?
Yeah.
People don't know about that, do we? That's another episode.
Anyway, I wasn't going to marry you before that anyway, Nee. So I don't even know why you're like, oh, maybe that's why.
She lying.
I am not lying.
But before this episode gets too long, just know that she lying.
I'm not lying.
And she from Park Slope.
I'm not from Park Slope. Let me tell you something, Nee. Say that one more time. I'm going to turn this camera off and I'm going to leave the mics on.
All right, y'all. Listen, I think this is probably the last episode that we're going to do before we go to Ghana.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all, we're just going to go on a hiatus for about 4 to 5 weeks. We ain't going nowhere. We're going to come back live and direct, new, refreshed. We're going to give you some really top podcast downloads, shows that you guys want to
on Instagram.
You'll see us on Instagram. But when we get back, there's going to be a whole bunch of new recorded episodes from Ghana as well as when we get back. So listen, y'all, we love y'all. Thanks for rocking with us. Write to us and let us know what's going on. Alfred, please put the number below. And what's the phone number?
It's 833-230-2860.
There it is. That's how you reach us directly. Even when we're in Ghana, we'll still get those text messages.
Yes.
And as always, shout out to everyone who listens to us on the audio experience. Yep. And also, what's good? To everyone who's watching us on YouTube.
What's up, YouTube?
We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.